Hey fam, these are the solutions for Check for Understanding 83. These are, each of these was okay, get a grip, teacher. We had 3 types of simple random sampling. We had the easiest, which I think is hat method, then using technology, then using random digits. So you had 3 problems on this Check for Understanding, 1 of each type. You could have followed the bullet points that I gave you on pages 809, 810, and then right here on 812. These were really good guides and like roadmaps for you to follow as you answered these. So as you look at my solutions, I'm sure that there aren't going to be any surprises. I'm basically following the bullet points. So for my table D, the sample of 5 students, I think it was, I have my description here, but the only thing that is different that I think is definitely worth mentioning is how I choose my line. So I will use my calculator to randomly select a line to start at on table D. And if I'm being even more specific, what I would use is rand int no rep 101 to 135 and hit enter. So if I do that on the older calculator, I would go to math probability 8 101, 135, hit enter. This tells me that I would start at line 116. So line 116. If I have the newer calculator, it's even easier. I go to math probability 8 101 135. I need one number, so I'll start at line 109. So I will use my calculator to randomly select a line to start at on table D. Now if you do what I would do, which is probably, well, I would use my calculator. That's why I wrote that I would use my calculator. But you can also do, as I discussed, and just look away and point at the table. Then you would say that. You would say, I will close my eyes, point to the table, and use the line that my finger is at. Whatever you would actually do is what you should write. And then lastly, I have from 101 to 135 because that's how far our table goes. Table D for us, I think I might have one pulled up. So here's our table D. Well, there it is. What I printed for you guys only goes to 135. So that's why my lower bound was 101 and my upper bound was 135. If you have me for B day, your line 107 was not enough to generate 5 students. But I only gave you line 107. So if you only have 4 students, then that's fine. If you drop down to find the 5th student, or if you went to your table to use line 108, that's great too. By the time I did this for the A days, I fixed this so that they had both lines so that they could actually get 5 students. So your sample, if you started at 0, 0, is this top line. Your sample, if you started at 0, 1, is the bottom line. If you didn't pull a 5th student, then you would just leave Rodriguez and Callaway off. So this is my steps for random digits. Gravestones are next. And I don't really think that I need to go through these. You can pause them and basically match your answer up to mine. The only thing that's different on the gravestones is that this population size is so large that if you use your older calculator, you have to hit enter until you have 395 unique integers. So if you try to put this in as it is, 1, 55914, your calculator is going to give you an error. It won't do one that's that big. If you went to math, so you have this in your notes, because rand int no repeat won't do it for you, you have to use option 5 instead. So you have to go math, probability, and just generate a random integer. 1 to 55914, and now it will pull one number at a time for you. So the command here is 5, and in our notes we wrote that down, but then we didn't revisit it at all. So I'll just remind you. Do I really not have those pages? Oh, they're right here in front of me. Oh, it's not on mine. So if you need to use this, you may want to go to this page and write it in. This is 808. If your, oh, this is wrong. Not if your sample is. This should be capital N. If capital N is greater than 999, you will need to generate one integer at a time until you have 8 distinct integers. And you will want to use command 5, which is just rand int. I'm glad I came to that now that I know. So this should have been capital N. You use rand int, and it'll pull one number at a time. If you have the newer calculator, I don't think that you have that same problem. So math, probability, 8, 1, 55914, you just say 1. Actually, I wonder if it would do 395. It will. So your calculator, if you have the newer one, will actually pull 395 random integers from 1 to 55,914. That's pretty cool. So if you have a calculator, this newer calculator, your first 3 will be what you write down right here. Very cool. So if you have the newer one, you use 8 and you just fill in lower, upper, sample size of 395. If you have the older one, you use rand int and then you hit enter until you have 395 numbers. So then it wants you to use your method and find 3 gravestones. So all of our answers will be different. Your numbers should definitely not be the same as my numbers. You should really practice going through and using your calculator, whether you have the older or the newer, and pull your own 3 numbers. Okay, so biggest takeaway from this problem is that you have to actually write what you really do with your calculator. And for the older calculator, you may have to use command 5 and not command 8. Then lastly is hat detail, and there's nothing special on hat detail, hat method. So I'm going to briefly run back through. Random digits, you could follow the bullet points that I gave you. The only thing that's different is that you need to specify how you're going to determine your starting line. Calculator, because this population is so big, if you have an older calculator, you need to be using option 5. If you have the newer calculator, then it'll do the sample size for you. So you would just enter in your lower, upper, and sample size, and then it'll give you your sample. And then hat method, nothing special on hat method. When we see each other again, make sure that if you have questions on how to word things, you ask, because like I said when we started this unit, I intentionally saved the units that we've been doing till the very last, because I'm 100% sure that you will see these on your AP exam. So you will, for sure, without a doubt in my mind, have to write how you would take a random sample. So either you're going to have to write one of these 3 methods or one of the methods, one of the more complex methods. So it is super important that you know how to do this, because I'm 100% sure it will be one of your free response. Okay, that's it. Love you guys.